Today on MTG Unpacked, we're taking a look at the Murders at Karlov Manor Commander deck, Revenant Recon. So this one has the themes of Surveil and Resurrecting Creatures. And here we have the Commander Mirko Obsessive Theorist. And we get a Collector Booster Sample Pack, 100 card deck with 12 new cards instead of the usual 10. We get a deck box, 10 double-sided tokens, foil etch display commander life wheel, strategy, insert, and reference card. Okay, so let's get to cracking here. So this one looks pretty cool. And let's see what this is about. This would be a great place for a secret message. Okay, there's a lot of mysteries in this set. These decks are going for about 45 bucks US. And there's about 76 bucks US of value here at time of filming. So here we have some punch outs and some counters on the other side. And we've got our deck, the information there, and let's see what is in here. We have, okay, a couple of things. So we've got our life wheel here. So this one goes up to 40 per usual. We got a nice deck box with the commander. And of course, a collector booster sample pack. Let's get into it, see if we can get something awesome. Actually, there is no pull tab, okay. Thought there might have been. So we have 3 cards here, one of which is an ad card. There's more where that came from. And we get a foil borderless Prof's Idyllic Memory. Actually, I think they call this style extended art. And we have a Covert Ambusher. No invisible ink on that one. That's another special effect on some of these cards. Alright, so let's take a look here at the flyer. See what this deck is all about. So we have Revenant Recon. So it tells you how to play the deck. You're going to be filling your graveyard quite a bit, and the Surveil mechanic helps with that. Commander rules, in case you're new to the format. Here's another one of these little puzzles. Mystery file, the Confounding Kidnapper. Okay, is anyone actually doing any of that stuff? Let me know in the comments. So some background here about Mirko Obsessive Theorist. Okay, so we'll set that aside and let's get into the deck itself. So we have, let's see, there's a little thing on the back here. Get into that. And they've been putting the display commanders on the front these days. They used to tuck them in at the back there as I ruin it. Okay, so we have Mirko Obsessive Theorist. So you'll notice thicker than usual card stock. So meant purely for display purposes. And then we have the regular version here. So we have Mirko Obsessive Theorist. It's a mythic legendary creature, Vampire Detective, 1/3 for 1 blue and black. Has flying and vigilance. Whenever you surveil, put a +1/+1 counter on Mirko Obsessive Theorist. And at the beginning of your end step, you may return target creature card with power less than Mirko's from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. If it would die, exile it instead. So you can only bring them back one time, alas. And next up we have another commander here. So mythic Marvo Deep Operative, legendary creature, octopus rogue, 1/8 for 3 blue and black. Whenever Marvo Deep Operative attacks, clash with defending player. So each clashing player reveals the top card of their library, then puts that card on the top or bottom. A player wins if their card had a higher mana value. And whenever you win a clash, draw a card, then you may cast a spell from your hand with mana value 8 or less without paying its mana cost. So another foil there. And let's get into the rest here. We have Case of the Shifting Visage. It's an enchantment case for 1 and 2 blue. At the beginning of your upkeep, Surveil 1, and to solve, there are 15 or more cards in your graveyard. And if it's unsolved, solve at the beginning of your end step, but you do have to meet that condition to solve it. And when it's solved, whenever you cast a non-legendary creature spell, copy that spell. The copy becomes a token. And we have copy catchers. Creature fairy, 2/1 for 1 and a blue, has flying. Whenever you surveil, you may pay 1 and a blue. If you do, create a token that's a copy of copy catchers. So they just keep copying stuff. That's cool. Final word, phantom creature spirit, detective 1/4 for 2 and a blue, has flash and flying. During each opponent's end step, you may cast spells as though they had flash. Just one more thing. And we have Watcher of Hours, creature Sphinx, 6/6 for 5 and a blue with flying and ward 3. So your opponent has to pay that 3 if they want to target it. Whenever you remove a time counter from Watcher of Hours while it's exiled, Surveil 1. Also has Suspend 6 for 1 and a blue. So rather than cast this card from your hand, you may pay 1 and a blue and exile it with 6 time counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a time counter. When the last is removed, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. It has haste. And we have Charnel Serenade. Sorcery for 4 and 2 black. Surveil 3, then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. Exile Charnel Serenade with 3 time counters on it. And this one has Suspend 3 for 2 and a black. We have Eye of Duskmantle. You ever feel like you're being watched? Creature Eye, 3/8 for 5 and 2 black with flying and lifelink. You may play lands and cast spells from among cards in your graveyard you've surveilled this turn. If you cast a spell this way, you pay life equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. Interesting. We got a Foreboding Steamboat. Artifact vehicle, 5/7 for 3 and 2 black. When it enters battlefield, each player chooses 2 non-token, non-vehicle creatures they control. Exile them until Foreboding Steamboat leaves the battlefield. And when Foreboding Steamboat attacks, put a card exile with it into its owner's graveyard. If you do, investigate, and you need to crew it with 2. Unshakable Tail, creature Zombie Detective, 3/2 for 2 and a black. When Unshakable Tail enters battlefield, and at the beginning of your upkeep, Surveil 1, whenever 1 or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from your library, investigate. And for 2, sack a clue, return Unshakable Tail from your graveyard to your hand. Counterpoint, instant for 3 blue and black. Counter target spell, you may cast a creature, instant, sorcery, or planeswalker spell from your graveyard with mana value less than or equal to that spell's mana value without paying its mana cost. Nice one. Ransom Note, artifact clue for 1. When it enters battlefield, Surveil 1. For 2, sack it. Choose 1. Cloak the top card of your library. Goad target creature or draw a card. Amphin Mutineer, creature Salamander Pirate, 3/3 for 3 and a blue. When it enters battlefield, exile up to 1 target non-salamander creature. That creature's controller creates a 4/3 blue Salamander Warrior creature token and has Encore for 4 and 2 blue. So you pay that cost, exile this card from your graveyard, and then for each opponent, create a token copy that attacks that opponent this turn. If able, they gain haste. Sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. Activate only as a sorcery. And Dream Eater, it's a mythic creature. Nightmare Sphinx, 4/3 for 4 and 2 blue, has flash and flying. When it enters battlefield, Surveil 4. When you do, you may return target non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand. So to Surveil 4, look at the top 4 cards of your library, then put any number of them into your graveyard and the rest on top of your library in any order. So pretty much like a graveyard scrying ability there. We have Mission Briefing, instant for 2 blue, Surveil 2, then choose an instant or sorcery card in your graveyard. You may cast it this turn. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. And Phyrexian Metamorph, not bad. Artifact creature Phyrexian Shapeshifter, 0/0 for 3 and blue Phyrexian mana, so you can pay that with either blue or 2 life. You may have Phyrexian Metamorph enter the battlefield as a copy of any artifact or creature on the battlefield, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. And another nice one, Mythic Sphinx of the Second Sun. Creature Sphinx, 6/6 for 6 and 2 blue, has flying at the beginning of your post-combat main phase. There's an additional beginning phase after this phase, and the beginning phase includes the untap, upkeep, and draw steps. Vizier of Many Faces. Creature Shapeshifter Cleric, 0/0 for 2 and 2 blue. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except Vizier of Many Faces, or except if Vizier of Many Faces was embalmed. The token has no mana cost, it's white, and it's a zombie in addition to its other types. And we got Black Sun Zenith, sorcery for X and 2 black. Put X -1/-1 counters on each creature. Shuffle Black Sun Zenith into its owner's library. And Dogged Detective, creature human rogue, 2/1 for 1 and a black. When it enters battlefield, surveil 2. Whenever an opponent draws their second card each turn, you may return Dogged Detective from your graveyard to your hand. And a Mythic Doom Whisperer, creature nightmare demon, 6/6 for 3 and 2 black, has flying and trample. Pay 2 life, you get to surveil 2. And another Mythic Grave Titan, creature giant, 6/6 for 4 and 2 black, has Death Touch. Whenever it enters battlefield or attacks, create 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. And another Mythic Massacre Worm, creature Phyrexian Worm, 6/5 for 3 and 3 black. When it enters battlefield, creatures your opponents control get -2/-2 until end of turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, that player loses 2 life. And Overseer of the Damned, creature demon, 5/5 for 5 and 2 black, has flying. When it enters battlefield, you may destroy a target creature. Whenever a non-token creature an opponent control dies, create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. And Phyrexian Arena, enchantment for 1 and 2 black. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card and lose 1 life. Pile On, instant for 3 and a black, has Convoke, so your creatures can help cast this spell. Each creature you tap while casting this spell pays for 1 or 1 mana of that creature's colour. Destroy target creature or planeswalker, then surveil 2. Ooh, another nice reprint. Sorcery for a single black, it is Reanimate. Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose life equal to its mana value. And another Mythic, another great reprint, Rise of the Dark Realms, sorcery for 7 and 2 black. Put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. That's why it costs so much. Holy moly. Oh, and Toxic Deluge, another nice one. Sorcery for 2 and a black. As an additional cost to cast the spell, pay X life. All creatures get -X until end of turn. Okay, so some spicy reprints in this deck. Next speaking of, Twilight Prophet, another Mythic creature vampire cleric, 2/4 for 2 and 2 black with flying, has Ascend, so if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the City's Blessing for the rest of the game. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have the City's Blessing, reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. Each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is that card's mana value. And Baleful Strix, artifact creature bird, 1/1 for blue and black, has flying and death touch. When it enters battlefield, draw a card. And we've got a split card here, Connive and Concoct. So Connive is a sorcery for 2 and a combo of either blue or black here, 2 of those. Gain control of target creature with power 2 or less, or Concoct, a sorcery for 3 blue and black, surveil 3. Then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And next we have a Mythic Lazav, the Multifarious legendary creature shapeshifter, 1/3 for blue and black. When Lazav enters battlefield, surveil 1. And for X, Lazav becomes a copy of target creature card in your graveyard with mana value X, except its name is Lazav the Multifarious. It's legendary in addition to its other types, and it has this ability. And Master of Death, creature zombie wizard, 3/1 for 1 blue and black. When it enters battlefield, surveil 2. At the beginning of your upkeep, If Master of Death is in your graveyard, you may pay 1 life. If you do, return it to your hand. And Choked Estuary, it's a land. As it enters battlefield, you may reveal an island or swamp card from your hand. If you don't, it enters battlefield tapped. Tap for blue or black. Darkwater Catacombs, another land. Pay 1, tap, add blue and black. And Drownyard Temple, a land. Tap for colorless for 3. Return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Fetid Pools, land, island, swamp. Tap for blue or black. Enters tap, cycle it for 2. Hostile Desert, it's a land, desert. Tap for colorless for 2. Exile a land card from your graveyard and it becomes a 3/4 elemental creature. Until end of turn, it's still a land. River of Tears, it's a land. Tap for blue. If you played a land this turn, add black instead. And Sunken Hollow, a land, island, swamp. Tap for blue or black. Enters battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more basic lands. Brainstorm, instant for a single blue. Draw 3 cards and put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. And Consider, instant for a single blue. Surveil 1, draw a card. And Curate, instant for 1 and a blue. Surveil 2, draw a card. Whole lot of surveilling going on here. Deep Analysis, sorcery for 3 and a blue. Target player draws 2 cards. You can flashback for 1 and a blue and pay 3 life. That means you can cast this card from your graveyard for its flashback cost, then exile it. Enhanced Surveillance, enchantment for 1 and a blue. You may look at an additional 2 cards each time you surveil. Exile Enhanced Surveillance. Shuffle your graveyard into your library. And Farah's Dispersal, instant for 2 and a blue. The spell costs 2 less to cast if it targets an attacking creature. Return target creature to its owner's hand. You get to surveil 2. And Muldrifter, creature elemental 2/2 for 4 and a blue. As flying, when it enters battlefield, draw 2 cards. Evoke for 2 and a blue. So you may cast the spell for its evoke cost. If you do, it's sacrifice when it enters the battlefield. And Night Veil Sprite, creature fairy rogue 1/2 for 1 and a blue. Has flying, whenever it attacks, surveil 1. And Otherworldly Gaze, instant for a single blue. Surveil 3 or flashback for 1 and a blue. Thoughtbound Phantasm, creature spirit 2/2 for a blue. Defender, whenever you surveil, put a +1/+1 counter on Thoughtbound Phantasm, and as long as it has 3 or more +1/+1 counters on it, it can attack as though it didn't have Defender. And Animate Dead, enchantment aura for 1 and a black. Enchant creature card in a graveyard, and when Animate Dead enters battlefield, if it's on the battlefield, it loses enchant creature card in a graveyard and gains enchant creature put onto battlefield with Animate Dead. Return enchanted creature card to the battlefield under your control and attach Animate Dead to it. When Animate Dead leaves the battlefield, that creature's controller sacrifices that enchanted creature, gets -1/-0. And Necromancy, another great reprint here. This is chock full of them. Enchantment for 2 and a black. You may cast Necromancy as though it had flash. If you cast it any time a sorcery couldn't have been cast, the controller of the permanent it becomes sacrifices it at the beginning of the next cleanup step. And when Necromancy enters battlefield, if it's on the battlefield, it becomes an aura with enchant creature put onto the battlefield with Necromancy. Put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control and attach Necromancy to it. When Necromancy leaves the battlefield, that creature's controller sacrifices it. And Price of Fame, instant for 3 and a black. The spell costs 2 less to cast if it targets a legendary creature. Destroy target creature, surveil 2. Ravenous Chupacabra, creature beast horror, 2/2 for 2 and 2 black. When it enters battlefield, destroy target creature an opponent controls. Shriekmaw, creature elemental 3/2 for 4 and a black. Has fear. This creature can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. And when it enters battlefield, destroy target non-artifact non-black creature. You can evoke it for 1 and a black. Sinister Starfish, creature starfish 0/3 for 1 and a black. Tap to surveil 1. Sir Conrad the Grim, legendary creature humanite 5/4 for 3 and 2 black. Whenever another creature dies or a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, Sir Conrad the Grim deals 1 damage to each opponent, and for 1 and a black, Each player mills a card. Whispering Snitch, creature, vampire, rogue, 1/3 for 1 and a black. Whenever you surveil for the first time each turn, Whispering Snitch deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. Dimir Spybug, creature, insect, 1/1 for blue and black, has flying and menace. Whenever you surveil, put a +1/+1 counter on Dimir Spybug. And another split card here. We have Discovery and Dispersal. So Discovery is a sorcery for 1 and either blue or black. Surveil 2, then draw a card. Dispersal is an instant for 3 and blue and black. Each opponent returns a non-land permanent they control with the highest mana value among permanents they control to its owner's hand, then discards a card. Disinformation Campaign, enchantment for 1 blue and black. When it enters battlefield, you draw a card and each opponent discards a card. Whenever you surveil, return Disinformation Campaign to its owner's hand. And Notion Rain, sorcery for 1 blue and black, surveil 2, then draw 2 cards. Notion Rain deals 2 damage to you. And Arcane Signet, artifact for 2, tap to add 1 mana of any colour in your commander's colour identity. Dimir Signet, artifact for 2, pay 1, tap, add blue and black. Everflowing Chalice, artifact for 0, has multi-kicker 2, so you may pay an additional 2 any number of times as you cast a spell. It enters battlefield with a charge counter on it for each time it was kicked, and you can add colourless mana for each charge counter on Everflowing Chalice. Mindstone, artifact for 2, tap for colourless for 1, tap, sack it, draw a card. Soul Ring, there it is, artifact for 1, tap for 2, colourless. And Talisman of Dominance, artifact for 2, tap for colourless or tap for blue or black. It deals 1 damage to you. Thought Vessel, artifact for 2, you have no maximum hand size, tap for colourless. Ash Barrens, tap for colourless, has basic land cycling 1. So you can pay 1, discard this card, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. And Bajuka Bog, it's a land, enters battlefield tapped. When it enters battlefield, exile target player's graveyard, tap for black. Okay, so let's separate out the tokens. There we go. And we have Command Tower. It's a land, tap to add 1 mana of any colour in your commander's colour identity. Dimir Aqueduct, enters battlefield tapped. When it enters battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand, tap for blue and black. Myriad Landscape, enters tapped, tap for colourless for 2, tap, sack it. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards that show a land type, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Mystic Sanctuary, tap for blue, enters battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more other islands, and when it enters battlefield untapped, you may put target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library. Port of Carfield, enters tapped, tap for blue for 3 blue and 2 black, tap, sack it, mill 4 cards, and return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Reliquary Tower, you have no maximum hand size, tap for colourless. Rogue's Passage, tap for colourless for 4, tap, target creature can't be blocked this turn. Tainted Isle, tap for colourless or tap for blue and or black, activate only if you control a swamp. Temple of the False God, tap for 2 colourless, activate only if you control 5 or more lands. And Tikazia's Dig Site, tap for colourless for 3, tap, surveil 1. And then we have some islands here, 9 of those, and swamps. Okay, 9 of those. And then we'll take a look at the tokens here. So we have a copy token. And on the other side, we got a 2/2 zombie. Another copy token, zombie, yep. Alright, copy token zombie. Copy token zombie. And Salamander Warrior 4/3. And a 2/2 zombie, of course. Another Salamander Warrior zombie. Another one, yep. And another one here. Okay, got a whole bunch of those. City's Blessing token. On the other side, of course, a 2/2 zombie. And Vizier of Many Faces. Okay, so that's cool. And a zombie on the other side. And then we have Parts of the Turn, popular Magic formats. Okay, so this deck looks pretty cool. I actually like the look of it better than the previous one we looked at. If you've missed any of the Commander decks so far on the channel, link in the corner, check them out. So this one has a whole bunch of Surveil, bringing stuff back from the graveyard, and I think that looks pretty cool. So let me know in the comments what you think about this one. And stay tuned, we've got a couple more of these Murders at Karlov Manor Commander decks, so we'll be uploading those real soon. Hope everyone's staying safe and healthy out there. Thanks for watching and have a great day.